It's renovation day. Mike Montgomery from Modern Builds is ripping up his old room, going to transform it into something new. That means it all starts with demolition. And this is the stage where you've got to be extra cautious. Wear all that personal protective equipment. You never know what's hiding under the carpet, in those walls, behind the frames, as they're all ripped out. At the very least, crack a window, wear a filtered mask underneath the carpet if that's what you've got going on. The glue needs to be scraped away. The frame around and the rail on the bottom for these sliding mirrored doors also removed to be replaced with something a little more in tune with the upcoming renovated look. And one of the big changes is going to be the removal of that popcorn ceiling. A little warm water and some dish soap mixed together, sprayed and allowed to absorb into that stucco or popcorn, and then it's just shaved away. You might need to spray on a little more, give it a little longer. And again, you see all that protective equipment. You do not want to be breathing in any of that dust. Make sure you've got a drop cloth down to gather it up, toss it in a bag, and run away. From there, it's on to the filler. Cleaning up any of those scratches, nicks, and gaps that may have even been created as you were demoing. Go over, sand, and then you can bring on the plaster or filler for a second layer. Here you can see some thinner compound used, and what you put on the walls, of course, is up to you, but make sure you smooth it out. Here, that primer going on first, and then more of that filler now being mixed up, or plaster. It's actually going to be rolled on just like paint. And the great thing about that is it goes on nice and thick, leaves a little bit of a texture which some people like, but in Mike's case, smoothing it out with that flat drywall knife. From there, with any of those rough spots, going over on an extension with some sandpaper to smooth it down before it's time to really paint everything. And again, with that roller, you need a good, high-quality, high-density roller that's going to absorb a lot of paint and roll it on even. Now, speaking of even, time to smooth out the flooring. A few different tools used to clean that up. Make sure, again, you're wearing a mask, that you maybe use a vacuum, wipe it down properly, and then tape off those edges to start laying down that floor paint. And this industrial gray look looks amazing. An ever so slight gloss, as you can see, to the flooring. Another layer added. It dries quite matte. And now, onto the walls. You've heard of pegboard, but have you ever made your own? How cool is this? Using a Forstner bit to plunge a few guide holes, making sure that the dowels fit, and then getting to work on creating a grid on standard 8-foot plywood sheets. You can pick whatever type of wood you like for this. The great thing about 8-foot sheets of plywood, well, that's the standard height of most rooms. So these will fit perfectly and quite comfortably. Now, that being said, make sure to accommodate for any appliances in your room, in your home, and find those studs. And what you can do once you've marked those studs out is draw some guidelines. Don't worry, they're going to be hidden, as some supports are going down, one in the corner to start, and then from there, wherever there's a stud, if you'd like, you can run them horizontal, vertical, in this case, clearly horizontal, and those are what the pegboards will be attached to rather than directly into the wall. A good idea. Now to clean up those edges, get them up, and then start to put those dowels in place for the awesome modular adjustable shelves. Adding a slight space for a cool look. Some shims are used, and it does create a cool, slightly more open and unique vibe. Again, if you want to leave that gap, that's up to you, and check that out. A perfect measurement, the end of that pegboard lining up perfectly with that support, all part of measuring and cutting precisely. Now it's just a matter of cutting the dowels to the right length. You can see a quick jig created with a slice into that 2x4, making it easy to cut the same length every time. In they go, up go the shelves. Another incredible, simple, and practical DIY from Modern Builds.